Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Mary Payton with All About STEM Radio. As you know, I come to you every Wednesday from 6 to 7 on the Blue Stream here at Fishbowl Radio Network. And as usual, I done bumped into my purse. I hope my money didn't fall out. You know I'm poor. I had to give you a hard time. Well, anyway, as I get started, have to loosen up a little bit. For those of you who didn't know, All About STEM is also on YouTube. If you go to Mary Payton, or if you go to any of the shows that you want to see. For example, my featured show for this month is Valine Garberberry. So if you type in All About STEM Radio and interviews Valine Garberry, you'll be able to find the channel. And I mean, you forget, I have had some excellent, excellent, excellent shows. And also, 2020 is going to be, my third year. Then I'll start my fourth in March. I want to continue to have great, great guests. So if you have anyone that you want to see on the show, please, please send me an email at allaboutstemradio@gmail.com. Hey, Stephonia, she has already joined. So today I have a excellent young lady from the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. She invited me to come over to visit. Now, if you are in my age range, you remember the museum had the little caveman exhibit where they were cutting into the caveman's head and all of that. It's gone. Well, it's gone. It's in storage. But you should see what they have now. Interactive things, great exhibits for all ages, not just for the babies, not just for the children, not just for the teens, but for all ages. I had a blast and I have great new things coming. So I want to introduce you to Miss Denise Wilkerson. Did I say that right?
No, it's Wilkerson.
Wilkerson, okay. So would you introduce yourself to my guest?
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Denise Wilkerson. I'm the grant writer for the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. I've been there since May of this year, and I'm very excited to answer Mary's questions about the museum.
Or have a conversation, because I just like to talk after
Okay.
spending the day with me. So, you've been at the museum since May, so could you give us just a little bit of your background?
Sure. I practiced law for 25 years
Wow.
as a trial attorney, and about 5 years ago, I decided to take a step back in my career to do something that was more fun, and went into fundraising for nonprofits.
Oh, okay. Okay. And you have two above average children. What does that mean? When I saw this, I'm like, okay, I have two kids, and I don't even like them. No, I love my kids. They're a mess.
Well, if I said two above average children, that's a typo, because I have more than two children, and they would be upset if I only referred
Or
to.
you said you the mother of above average children, not two. I think every time I think of kids, I only think of two because that's all I have.
But I have two boys. One of them is studying engineering at A&M.
Ooh.
The other one graduated from the Naval Academy, and he is learning how to be a helicopter pilot for the United States Navy. I have a daughter who is the area director for Refugee Services of Texas. And then I have 3 foster daughters.
Oh, you are just doing it up. You've got to be a special mom. You have to be a special family. And I know it's so much fun because I know my kids, even though they're grown and relatively out of the house, they still have me cracking up. My youngest yesterday decided that he needed to go on a day trip. So him and one of his friends went down to the Dinosaur National Park in Glen Rose and just had a blast and then came home. I'm like, y'all didn't take me? Well, you had stuff to do. I'm like, okay. So I'm not getting any love this week. But anyway.
Well, my daughter's on a trip to Japan this week.
Without you.
Without me. So
Well, see the love that we get, that's okay. That's okay. We'll get some trips without them.
That's right.
So, as a grant writer for the museum, because people assume that museums get all this money from the government and the state and all of that, but they don't necessarily get, money from a whole bunch of, those entities all the time. You have to write grants for different things. Is that correct?
The Fort Worth Museum of Science and History does not get any government funding from the city of Fort Worth, the Tarrant County, or the state of Texas.
Really?
We apply for federal grants. We recently received a conservation grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. But other than that, any kind of government funding is through the grant process. But there's no tax dollars, Fort Worth dollars, that go to the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History.
Wow. And you know what? Between that and probably donations, y'all have done some wonderful things over there. So, how important is the grant writing and donations and fundraising?
Income from ticket sales and field trips accounts for about half of our income.
Okay.
The other half is made up through fundraising, whether it's donations from individuals, corporations, or foundations.
Okay. And that helps to not only, keep the day-to-day things running, but to help you to get new exhibits and things like that. Is that correct?
Exactly. And we have a huge education program at the museum. I have this list that's a full page of our education programs that we run through the museum that uses the museum artifacts and exhibits as the backbone of these education programs.
Okay, and I do want to talk about those because going to the museum and going with you that day, I've been there since, I've been back, but I didn't get to spend as much time as I wanted to there. And when I went to the space exhibit, when I was there before, it was a exhibit for like viruses and germs and sneezing and snot. It had the big nose up there.
Grossology.
Grossology, that's what it was. And now you have the space exhibit. And I didn't know that you changed out exhibits like that, every so often in that area. And I thought that was really nice because that was so educational and so informational. And any school or any parent or any kid should love to go there because I went to the planetarium the first time I went when I came back, but I didn't go through as extensively as you took me that day. So, but speaking of some of your some of your educational things that you have, would you give us a little bit about those?
Sure. For early childhood, we have a preschool on site, and for schools in the Fort Worth ISD, we have what's called the Morningside Children's Partnership, where we do the museum school program.
Okay.
For children from 6 different elementary schools in Fort Worth, where they actually come to the museum for a museum school experience, and it's to help them with early childhood literacy, and it's from pre-K all the way through 2nd grade.
Okay. Let me go back just a little bit. You say the first thing that you talked about was a daycare?
A preschool.
Preschool, not daycare, y'all. Preschool. You have a preschool on site.
Yes.
And what ages is that for?
All the way up to, but I don't think it includes kindergarten.
Okay, probably up to 3 or 4. That is so awesome. And the Morningside program, how is that run?
It's run with partnership with Fort Worth ISD.
Okay. Now, I'm talking to my Morningside group, Audrey and all of those who have y'all Morningside Women's Group. There is a program at the museum, the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History, that caters to y'all. So, you know, you need to start making those contacts because there are a lot of, Morningside Middle School, Morningside Elementary, people who went there back, you know, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They have very large groups, and some of them may not even know that this exists. So I'm going to make sure they know about this. I'm going to contact Audrey and make sure she lets everybody know in their group because they just had a big Saturday get together a couple of Saturdays ago. So let them know so they can kind of push their schools into making sure they utilize the museum.
Well, the schools do. They send their
Mhm.
entire classes.
Oh, that's great.
It's similar to a field trip program,
Mhm.
except for the kids are actually coming and taking classes at the
Oh.
museum
Okay, okay. Is that in the evening or during the school day?
during the school day.
That is so cool. So, but still got to make sure that these parents know and they're supporting this, or in my case, probably grandparents. So what else do you have?
We also have a program. We have field trips. Every
Yeah.
third grader in Fort Worth ISD comes to the museum on a field trip. But we have schools from all over North
Mhm.
Texas that come.
Mhm.
I counted 88 schools from east of Arlington actually came to field trips at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History this year.
That is good.
We have what's called family museum nights, where a
Mhm.
school can rent the museum on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings,
Mhm.
and there's usually 3 to 4 schools that have the museum to themselves, where the school can have the entire family come to the museum for a special night just for those school children and their parents. We like to include parents in the
Yes.
activities, because when a parent is enthusiastic about an activity, then the children pick up on that and they
Oh, yeah.
become more enthusiastic as well. We have Storm School in collaboration with meteorologists from CBS 11, and they come to the museum when they're available and put
Mhm.
on Storm School for the field trips. We have summer camps. Specifically, there's a 21st Century STEM Academy,
Mhm.
which is a combination professional development for teachers,
Okay.
where the teachers learn STEM teaching techniques, and then in the afternoon we bring in campers who they are sign up. The camp is free for the campers
Mhm.
at the different ages, so the teachers can practice the STEM techniques they learned that morning on the campers in the afternoon, so they can take it back to their school and they've already had some experience in actually doing the STEM techniques on children.
Do the teachers get professional development credit for it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because they're always looking for ways of getting professional development credits.
You know,
So that's great.
yeah, we have what's called the Blair Center for Inquiry that
Okay.
manages all of our professional development programs.
Okay.
So we have some that are on campus, some where we send consultants to the schools, and I believe our professional development programs run year-round, but the 21st Century STEM Academy is special just because the teachers come in, learn the techniques, and then get to practice that afternoon on children.
Okay. That is good because, all of that's important.
And then some of our outreach programs, we have a discovery lab on wheel, which is a different STEM topic that we go to museums, we go to classrooms, we go to assisted living centers and memory care facilities, and we just do demonstrations with museum artifacts in these different environments. And that's our discovery lab, and that's on the road constantly.
I was looking at that the other week because I was going through the website to find out different things that you had at the museum to make sure I didn't forget anything, and I'm glad you brought that up. If organization, memory care facility or a school wanted to use the lab on wheels, how do they contact the museum?
If they go to the website
Mhm.
and then click on outreach programs, I think
Mhm.
the first link that will come up is the Discovery Lab, and they can see what the costs are that are involved and the time that's involved, and reserve it that way.
That's got to be like an amazing thing. What do they have on that with the Discovery Lab on Wheels?
Well, I'm familiar with, like one of them is a seaside program. They'll have seashells and from our collection, and that's really popular with the memory care facilities. Yeah. We have taxidermy animals. So we have a forest program that might bring out some of the taxidermy animals. And I think the program, if I remember correctly, is about an hour and a half, where someone would come out and just talk and demonstrate the various things from the collection that was picked. There's like a dozen different Discovery Labs that are currently available.
Okay.
The other thing that we have are family science festivals, where we bring the museum to a school, because some schools the families have transportation issues and they're not able to come to the museum. And so we bring the museum to the school and have a science fair at the school, where we have all kinds of activities and interactives. And we bring staff to the school to encourage the parents to come in. And many times we have teachers tell us that this is the first time they've seen the parent at the school all year, because it's a fun way for them to come and get engaged with the school, rather than having to come for a parent-teacher conference that might not be so fun. Yeah. And in order to encourage the families to take what they've learned at the Family Science Festival, everybody who attends these festivals gets a free pass to come back with their family to the museum.
Okay.
And that's true for the Family Science Festivals as well as the Family Museum Nights.
Okay, so that kind of cuts the rates that they have to pay to get into the museum.
Yeah, it's free for the family when they come in with a Family Science Fair pass.
That's cool. I like that.
And another outreach program we have is the Mobile Noble Planetarium. And it's like an inflatable dome. Looks a little bit like a bounce house.
Yeah, I've seen that. But keep going.
But you go in, you sit down, and it is a quality planetarium show. And that goes to all the family science fairs, as well as there are groups that just rent the Mobile Noble Planetarium on its own.
Yeah, I saw that at Wesleyan, when they have their female STEM, the girls STEM event every year. They normally get the planetarium, and I mean it's pretty good size, but it fits into a gym corner really well. But I was just amazed at the amount of information you can get in there, and it being set up. It was really nice, really nice. So, but we've talked about the things that you carry out and the educational portions. Our walk through the museum was something totally different experience than I normally have. What are some of the exhibits that y'all have on right now?
The temporary exhibit we have that's up in what we call the Havner Gallery. It's a 10,000 square foot gallery, is where the space exhibition, it's called Launchpad Apollo 11. And that will probably go through January. We'll take it down after the holidays. The next exhibit that's going to go into that space after Launchpad is called Project Planet, which will be about climate change.
Oh, okay. Is that what Morgan's working on?
That is what Morgan is working on. That's what we're all working on.
Yeah, and I'm mentioning Morgan because he was on the show earlier in the year. So if you go back, what's his last name? I can't remember.
Reinberg.
Yeah, Dr. Reinberg. If you go to the YouTube channel, you can see his interview. Outstanding young man. Very tall, but still outstanding young man. So the exhibit you have there now, would you tell my guest a little bit about that?
Sure. The Launchpad exhibition one of the things that you see as you first go into the
Yeah.
exhibition is the preview of the V-Drome that we're building, which is it's going to be like a flying ride where you sit in chairs that are going to be raised up, and you will move in connection with the film that you're watching. So the demonstration film that we
Yep.
showed was a flying film, flying over different areas of America. Well, inside of the V-Drome, when you experience that film, you will be have the sensation of flying. You will feel the wind in your hair. You may feel the mist from the fog. It's considered a 4D experience, and we are hoping to open that in late fall of 2020.
It's going to be nice.
It's we'll be the only museum in the country that has anything like it. And we're really looking forward to what it will allow us to do as far as demonstrating science. For example, when we do we are planning a film that takes you into outer space, so you will feel like you are traveling in outer space with the V-Drome sensations. Then we're planning a film that you go through the human body, where you feel like you've shrunk down and you're going through the bloodstream or going through the digestive tract, or
That is so cool.
so there's a similar ride would be like the I Fly America that's at Disney, but there's no place else in the country that uses it for scientific exploration, and so we're very excited about bringing this to Fort Worth.
I mean, I walked through the room where you're going to have and saw just a video of, flying over terrain and stuff. But once you get everything in there and get that set up, that is going to be an experience, a true experience.
Yeah, it's not going to be in that room. It's going to be in its own building that we're building, that will have the V-Drome Theater next to a rebuilt Omni Theater.
Okay. Now, I haven't been to the Omni Theater, but before we get into that, because I don't want to bounce around.
All right, we're talking about Apollo 11.
We're talking about Apollo 11.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're very proud of in the Apollo 11 is the fact that we have Alan Bean. He is an astronaut from Fort Worth. We have some of his uniforms, some of his paintings. He was, as far as I know, the only artist to go to the moon. And his family shared some beautiful things that he had painted. And we're excited to be able to display those, as well as some of his gear from his voyage to the moon. We also have virtual reality goggles where you can see what it's like to stand on the moon from each of the different Apollo moon landings. We have some interactive exhibits there that demonstrate space principles, and my favorite thing is the planet petting zoo, where you can look at the planets and get that has a touch screen to where you can magnify and look at the craters.
Yes.
And we call it the planet petting zoo.
I was getting ready to say, did I miss that one?
You remember it now, right? Yeah, we're looking for footprints on the moon, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll be saying to this goodbye to this exhibit in January as we prepare for the Project Planet, the climate change one.
This is the 50th year of our moon landing, isn't that right?
Correct.
So hey, y'all need to get out and see this. This is like really, really an amazing exhibit, and I enjoyed it. But when she said the planet petting zoo, I couldn't remember what that was, but now I remember. But yeah, that was amazing to me, just to be in there. And I mean, I could have spent at least another hour in there, but you drugged me out.
Well, one of the things I'm I'm very proud of is the fact that it was our team, our Academy
Yes.
of Digital Learning team, which is Dr. Reinberg and Dr. Roberts, who are leading this team, who developed this exhibition in-house. We didn't, rent this from another museum.
Oh.
This is particular to Fort Worth.
Really?
And they are also developing the Project Planet in-house, using local sources of information
Okay.
and scientists. So we're trying to keep things on a very local focus.
Because looking at that exhibit, I thought that that was something that was traveling because of how it's set up. It is, I mean, not to say that, Fort Worth isn't professional, but it looks like something that should be a traveling exhibit because, the area where you use the goggles and you can see the actual moon and stuff like that, it doesn't, like I said, I thought it was a traveling exhibit, not that y'all had developed it right here. That means you got some commitment at that museum and some dedicated people and some smart people, and I love that.
One of the interactive exhibits was actually developed by an intern who was still in high school at the time. He's now in college, but I do believe the museum did offer him a full-time job because they recognized talent when they saw it.
Hey, hopefully that young person will come back and do exactly that, because if they were a part of that exhibit, that child has some talent, a lot of talent. So what else do we have there?
Well, in the Omni right now, we are showing Coco in our Omni Theater, along with some other films that are, one's Apollo 11. It's similar to the one that you can see on, or you could have seen on CNN during the anniversary. But it has additional footage, and it is on the Omni screen, IMAX screen, so it's a much bigger presentation. We also have a really cute film called Super Dogs that talks about, the dogs that save people, fight fires, all the wonderful things dogs do, and that's a great film to see with your family. Coming up in honor of Veterans Day, we have a celebrity lecture. The CEO of the Military Museum of Fort Worth, Trace Chinworth, and Executive Director Tyler Alberts will be speaking about the military history of the Cultural District. And it is a free lecture. We do ask that you go online and make a reservation because we do sell out often on these free celebrity lectures. But if you have any interest in Fort Worth military history, that and celebrating Veterans Day, it's going to be a lovely evening.
Are they going to be talking about Camp Bowie?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Camp Bowie is the land that would go on to become the cultural district that the museum sits on, the actual camp.
Really? Because when I read that, and I started looking that up, because I read it the other week, and I started looking it up, and I never, ever knew that. I mean, I knew about Carswell and all the stuff that happened in White Settlement, and Echo Lake is, where some of the soldiers lived, the different areas where they had the military housing. But I did not know that about the Camp Bowie area, the cultural district now. That is interesting. So, I mean, I did a little reading. Well, I did a lot of reading because I got interested when I saw that.
Yeah, and we have our big fundraising event, the Mad Scientist Ball, on November 16th. And tickets are available, and it's different than your typical gala in that we don't do any additional fundraising during the event. There's no silent auction. There's no raise the paddle. It's just come and have a good time. We're going to have a comedy team, which the names, I can't remember the name of the comedy team. They're going to be there, and a couple wonderful magicians and some music. And of course, all the science will be there.
Lab coats are optional.
Well, we will provide the lab coats.
Okay. If you don't have one.
If you don't have one. And one thing I want to mention is our Research and Learning Center.
Yes.
It's something that happens pretty much every weekend, where we
Mm-hmm.
have university researchers and occasionally corporate researchers who come to the museum, and they do their research studies on our museum guests. The museum guests, of course, volunteer to be a guinea pig. For example, the things that are coming up this weekend on the 9th is a research study on whether or not the health information you look up on the internet is safe and reliable.
Oh.
And so it's an interactive workshop being led by a TCU professor
Okay.
to help teens understand health information on the internet. That's an unusual type of research. A lot of times they'll be researching physics or kinesiology or taste buds. I mean, we have every weekend it's some kind of a different research that's taking place. On November 9th, it happens to be the United Nations Year of Indigenous Languages.
Okay.
And so we're having storytelling in 4 different world cultures sharing their stories in the round on Saturday. And those stories will take place from 10:30 a.m. to 12 to noon at the museum. And so that's a great way to celebrate Indigenous Language Day. And speaking of days, I know today is a specific day regarding science museums
Mm-hmm.
and education.
Yep.
And I'm just going to throw this out there. If you care about science education in your schools, let your representatives know
Mm-hmm.
that it's important to you, and put out a support and put a call in their ears. I've been inviting local politicians to come to the museums just so they can see how museums support local education.
And that is extremely important, because a lot of people think, well, my kids they're grown, or I have no interest. I don't think look, there's probably nothing in there for me. And I've brought people to the museum, and they ended up being like a kid in a candy store, looking around and like, oh my goodness, I didn't know this and that. I mean, we went through your it's not oil, it's
The energy.
the energy exhibit. And there's so much to do at the museum. There are sections you may not even go into, because you may not think they're relevant to you, but there are sections that you'll go in and you'll just spend time and time and time there, because it is interesting, and the museum is so interactive. So, and it's just important to our community.
I appreciate you saying that. I do believe that you got on the bed of nails while you were
I
there.
got on the bed of nails. Yes. They did not hurt. I did not get stuck. But you're the one who pushed the buttons to make the nails go up. Like, okay. When we took the picture, I looked like I was, laid out to rest. But that's okay. But I mean, it's so much to do there for every age.
Well, and one of the things, since Christmas is around the corner, I thought I'd throw out there that the perfect grandparent gift is when you want to buy your kids experiences rather than stuff. Museum membership is a great gift, because not only does it get them admission to their local museum, but at different membership levels, they can get 50% off at other museums across the country, or at another level, they can get free admission at museums across the country. So I recently took a trip to New York City and went to the Math Museum for free because of my membership at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History.
And how much are the memberships?
Well, really, I highly recommend going to a website and checking.
Okay, because they change.
It depends on how many people are in your family. The lowest amount is $75, going up to $600 if you have 10 people in your family.
Okay.
But with a Fort Worth Museum of Science and History membership, you can also get discounts or even free admission to the Perot Museum in Dallas. and the Heard Museum. So there's it's not a museum membership is not just limited to
Yeah. To just Fort Worth, the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History.
right. We belong to the Association of Science and Technology Center Travel Passport Program.
Okay, I never heard of that.
And this is the list of all the science museums in the country that you can get in free with a membership of the Fort Worth. And I know we're on radio, so
That's okay.
it's
We're also video, so people can. You're live. I didn't tell you that. Hey, Clarence, down in Tyler, how you doing?
okay. That's a camera, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, which camera? She's that camera. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, it's 4 pages, 4 columns of probably 20 museums per page of museums that you can get in free with a museum membership. And so it doesn't matter where you live. Look for your local museum and find out if they're a member of this Association of Science and Technology Center. And get a membership. And then whenever you travel, it saves you so much money in the long run.
And you know that makes so much sense because I volunteer at the museum here in Arlington. We have an art museum, and we have a agreement with.
I'm a member of the Arlington Museum of Art.
Yay! And we have an agreement with other surrounding art museums that if you're a member there, you get to come to our exhibit. And when we had the Keith Haring exhibit, did you come to that one?
Of course.
Wasn't it awesome?
Yeah.
And the one that we have now,
Momentous. And then Penny James is up on the 3rd floor.
Yep.
With her Scenes of Fort Worth.
Yes. So I mean, it saves you in the long run, especially if you're a museum person or you get out and you do certain things. So yeah, a lot of people don't understand that. I mean, a lot of military people don't understand what their military ID will help them with. So hey.
Yeah, and as long as you mentioned that, we are a Blue Star Museum.
What's a Blue Star Museum?
A Blue Star Museum allows for military active duty servicemen to have free admission for themselves and their families. I think up to 4 individuals during the summer. There's a specific, like from Memorial Day to Labor Day. I don't know the exact, but go to a museum website and find out if you're in the military. Go to a museum website and find out if they're a Blue Star Museum. And the other thing I want to mention is we're also a member of the Museums for All program. And anybody who is receiving, here we go, Museums for All reduces the cost of admission to just $3.
Okay.
If you are receiving SNAP benefits.
Okay. Okay.
So all you have to do is show your EBT card, and you can get 4 exhibit admission tickets for only $3 a piece. So that saves $10 per child and quite a bit per adult. And because we specifically believe at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History, that cost should not be a barrier to a great learning experience. And if you pay attention throughout the year, we often have free days. The Smithsonian Day was a free day. 9/11 was a free day this year. And for Veterans Day, we delivered passes for veterans and their families through a local veterans organization. So we try to make sure that we keep the museum open to as many people as possible that might have a barrier to coming to the museum.
Well, I mean, it's so much to do there, and don't hang yourself. It's so much to do there, and there's so many opportunities for every age level. I mean, not all the things are interactive. I love the cattle section of the museum because you get to see, some of our longhorns and other cattle around here close up because we are in Texas. We are in Texas, and you've got the planetarium. I mean, it's just so much to do. And then the interactive sections where the kids can draw on the dinosaur and see the dinosaur walk past, and they have an actual grocery store in there where kids can pretend like they're shopping and scanning and buying stuff. So it's just so much in that museum that people can do. But I wanted to ask the question. You remember we went outside and they had the dig.
The dinosaur.
The dinosaur dig. How long has that been there?
A long time.
'Cause I'm thinking I remember that.
Yeah, that hasn't changed. I know that when my son was 3 years old, and he's now, I'm guessing he's 24. He's gonna have he has a birthday Saturday. So, but when he was 3, that dinosaur dig was his favorite part of the museum. We spent hours out there, and he actually, when he was in high school, volunteered on the Arlington Archaeosaur site because
Really?
he had had such great experiences digging for dinosaur bones at the museum that he wanted to do it for real when he got to high school.
Because I mean, I when I went out there, it was like, okay, that's one of the things I can remember, and I was wondering how long has this been here. So yeah, that's been there for a while. And like I said, you may go to the museum and the first time not get to see all of it because you will get trapped and start enjoying 3 or 4 different sections of it because it's so much to do there.
Well, that's why I recommend when a family takes their children in, let the children lead the way about what they want to spend their time doing. And don't feel like you have to see everything.
No, because there was next to the energy exhibit, but before the dinosaur exhibit, it's a little exhibit in there, and I cannot remember what it is. You go in this door. Oof. I don't know if it's a movie or a video or something. It may have to do with energy.
There is Energy Blast. It
is
a
we didn't
film.
get to go in there.
Yeah, it is a film, and it actually does have moving chairs, but not quite the same as the V-drum chairs. But they're chairs that rock back and forth that take you back to when dinosaurs were created. No, excuse me, when energy was created from dinosaurs decomposing.
Yeah.
But don't ask me to explain that to you. I'm not a scientist.
But I didn't go in there when I went last summer. And I'm like, okay, I've got mapped out some sections that I still want to go to because I want to go to the planetarium again. And I wanted to go there.
And the planetarium is being remodeled right now. We're really going to highlight our meteorite collection.
Okay.
So we're building some new display cases, and we're getting some new some of the stuff that's in Launchpad.
Yes.
Will move to the planetarium.
Great.
When Launchpad is over, so it's not going to be put in storage.
Good.
It'll still be on display, but just in a different part of the museum.
Yeah, like my cavemen are somewhere in storage.
It is in Arlington. Our storage unit is in Arlington. It was something I was surprised to learn about the museum.
Okay. Wow.
But another thing that you might not know is we probably have about 400 live animals at the museum.
Where?
And they come out for special occasions.
Okay.
We have 3 prairie dogs. We have a bunch of rabbits. We have a chinchilla. We have a possum. We have numerous snakes and spiders and frogs and tons of turtles. And they're used in the classrooms. They're used with the educational programs. They're used with the outreach programs. So the animals have very busy schedules.
So if a teacher wanted to have an animal come to visit, what do they have to do? Because I didn't know that you had animals there.
Yeah, and I don't know if the animals go on road trips.
Okay, have the animals come out while they're there on while the students are there visiting.
Yeah, and I'm sure someone from our education department can arrange that.
Okay, all right. So how would they contact the education department? Just go
on the website.
Okay, what's the website?
FWMUSE fwmuseum.org.
Okay, that's simple. fwmuseum.org. Because you're the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History, and to get it that short is amazing. But I did not know you had live animals at the museum.
Yeah, there are
Not
always
at the museum, but
there are
associated.
always some on display in the children's museum area, especially the spiders and snakes and turtles. But we have mammals as well. Ferrets, a raccoon that's quite fat. And my personal favorite is the chinchilla.
Ooh. Just one chinchilla?
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
Poor little lonely chinchilla. But, I did not know that. Now, they come out for different events at the museum.
Correct.
They don't go away to the classrooms.
I don't know.
Okay. All right, teachers, that'll be something y'all may want to ask the museum. Now, the museum is huge. It has a whole lot of people. How do people get involved with, let's say, volunteerism or finding out if they want to work there or doing internships? Are all of those things available to the people here in the Metroplex?
Yes.
Uh-oh, she got quiet on me, y'all.
We have about 60 full-time staff and another 200 part-time staff.
Wow.
And during the year, we probably use about 500 volunteers. Now, one of the positions we may be hiring soon is a volunteer coordinator to help us manage all of those volunteers, but nothing official on that. But if you go to our website, I do believe it does have an HR part where you can look to see if there are any current jobs available. But as far as I know, we're always hiring. And specifically when we have special events, for example, Engineering Week, Chemistry Week, Bubble Festival, Maker Festivals, if you talk to our programs manager, and it should be information on the website for each of those. You can ask if there's any volunteer opportunities, because yes, we do use quite a few volunteers for all of our events.
Okay, because that's one thing about being here in Arlington. Arlington's a little small, but after I retired and started wanting to do something except sit around the house eating French fries, being at the museum here has been like so emotionally beneficial to me, and I get to learn stuff. And even though we're nice and small here, we're we still a crazy deranged little family over at the museum. But I know at the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History, you get that feeling of being at home. It's just comfortable there. And it was through one of your docents that I got involved with Morgan. And he's like, you have to have him on your show. He is like the coolest guy. And, you have wonderful people there. And then I got to meet you. So, yeah. So if y'all want to volunteer, contact the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History and see what they have available. And also, if you're looking for a position, they may have something available. I did not know y'all had a staff that large.
It takes a lot of people to keep that place running, because we don't just have the staff that are working there at the museum. We have a lot of staff that are used for the outreach programs.
Okay.
So we use a lot of teachers who are in the evenings needing a little extra cash with our outreach programs, because our family science festivals and our family museum nights need additional staffing.
Okay. The place is phenomenal. But we've got about 2.5 minutes left.
Oh, wow.
I know. It goes so fast. So if there's anything that you want to tell my guest before we go off the air, this is your time.
Put the pressure on.
There's no pressure.
Well, I know that not all of your listeners are in the area. And so I would like to just recommend take your children or yourself
Yeah.
to your local museum
Mhm.
and explore.
Mhm.
Find out if they have things like scavenger hunts
Yeah.
that you can sit there and, because that helps you find things that you might not have noticed if you didn't have a scavenger hunt brochure. So we have a scavenger hunt brochure at the museum that has some pictures on it that, even though Mary has now recently been to the museum twice, I don't think she knows where all of these things on this scavenger hunt are. So,
No, I don't
you
think
know,
so.
so there are different ways to enjoy a museum other than just going in and expecting to see everything in one day.
Mhm.
If you want to just spend time, most museums nowadays, even though they're a science museum, will have an art room.
Yeah.
And so you can do art that's inspired by science.
Mhm.
They'll We have a giant chessboard, where you might find out that your kid has an interest in chess. You didn't have the chessboard at home, but they find the one at the museum, and that's something that interests them. Museums are a great way to figure out what your kids' interests are, because that's true for me. I mean, I found out that my older son was very interested in dinosaurs from a very early age, because we went to the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History, and he got to know dinosaurs and identify dinosaurs and learn about the process of paleontology. And I always thought he was going to be a paleontologist when he grew up. I didn't know he was going to be a helicopter pilot, but
Hey,
hey, it's all good.
it is. It is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have had a wonderful time with Denise from the Fort Worth Museum of Science and History. And yes, I have to give a shout out to my book, which was so funny when your bookstore manager asked, "Is the museum in the book?" Yes, it is. So, till next week, this is Dr. Mary Payton with All About STEM Radio. And next week, I am going to have a excellent STEM author will be on the show. So please, please come back. And until then, bye-bye.
Hey, this is Harold and Delonica